that I've been telling people for years. Aminé is a fun Pusha T. This is a Pusha T song.
I disagree with that.
Song, that second part is, that song could come from literally any Pusha T album.
Good afternoon, beautiful people. This is another episode of Album Mode. We review a new album every single week. We look at the lyrics, the production, the overall aesthetic of the album, and how the album fits into the context of that artist's career. For everyone watching on YouTube, make sure you like this video, subscribe to us, and leave us a comment. Let us know how wrong we always are. My name is Adriel Smiley, a.k.a. AdrielSmiley.com, a.k.a. Adriel Smiley Official, a.k.a. The Godfather, and we're here with His Royal Highness, a.k.a. The Bunny, a.k.a. No Longer a Munch, a.k.a. Green Goblin, King Grant.
Welcome back, everybody. We're here with Aminé and 13 Months of Sunshine. Aminé, one of those artists that we've continuously reviewed. He's been putting things out in a nice, spacious amount of time so that we've been able to track. Limbo. Oh, remember Kaytraminé? And now we have 13 Months of Sunshine. Adriel, how did you feel about when this album was put on the calendar for you?
I'm going to have to kind of break the fourth wall here. I actually heard this album before you put it on the calendar.
Oh!
So I've had this album for quite some time. So
how come I didn't get a link?
It wasn't one of those.
Oh,
it wasn't one of those. So I've had this album for quite some time. So when you put it on the calendar, I was like, you know what? It's actually good. So I'm happy it's on the calendar. But I think Aminé is one of those artists who are reviewing him based on his artistic merit more than how big he is as an artist. Because I think for a lot of people, they're not paying attention to Aminé at all. He's not in their algorithm. They don't know what he's up to. But then there's another part of the world, another part of the internet where they're thinking about him. They're getting his shoes. They see what he's doing online.
Yeah, into him heavy.
Yeah, so it's almost like there's two sides of it. And I think one thing about Aminé, which has been so interesting over his whole career, is that he's not a big collaborator. Like when he does, usually it goes well, but he's not a big collaborator. So I want to go back in time a little bit. It's not our first Aminé reviews. Let's go back to our past Aminé reviews. And then two things. One, totally forgot about this. He was part of the XXL freshman class in 2017. Completely forgot that he was part of that at all, which is basically around the same time that Caroline came out, which is still his biggest song.
The vibe.
Peaked at number 11 on the Billboard Hot 100. So our first review was in August of 2020 for Limbo. Do you remember the score that you gave it?
A 7.
You gave it 7.5.
Okay.
I gave it 8.5. I'm surprised by how highly we had that album rated. Of course, very good album. There's still some songs from it that I still listen to, but I'm surprised we rated it as highly as we did.
I'm not, because I remember being I felt like we were Aminé true believers. People were getting off the boat when it came to Caroline. There was a little waft of one hit wonder. 1.5 wasn't as interesting or as evocative.
That's where his second biggest hit is from.
I know, but after 1.5 came out, they were like, okay, it's another hit song, relative hit song, and then we kind of dispersed, or it felt like everybody else dispersed.
I think a big part of that was 1.5 was a different sound than Good For You. And I think it was one of those where everyone's like, Good For You is what I know from him. And as well, it's like, if you look at the difference between those two, Good For You felt more colorful, even in the visuals as well as the music. 1.5 was almost more traditional center of rap sound, but 1.5 to this day is still my favorite album from him.
Wow.
That's when I became an Aminé fan, was when 1.5 came out.
Hot take.
Man, listen, if you know, you know. For all y'all, get in the comments and side with me. If you know, you know. And then our next Aminé review was his collab album with Kaytraminé, the name of the album and the name of the group.
Yep.
Do you remember the score that you gave it?
I think I gave that an 8.
Yep, that's correct. You gave it an 8. I gave it an 8.5. So at this point, Aminé may be album mode Hall of Fame worthy. Like, he's got 2 good scores so far. We'll see where this one is at. But I think for those 2 at least, like, that's an aggregate score of an 8 for 2 projects.
Yeah, I would say he's like a Carmelo Anthony type of Hall of Famer. He's technically getting in, I guess. His baby getting in.
This seems high. I think we don't view him that way, but the scores are the scores, man. Like,
I agree.
He has the scores. I don't know how many people in album mode history have this kind of track record. So I think he deserves to get in. And then as we head into production, I think, I wrote a review on this, and I said in my review, this feels like an extension of what Kaytraminé was, a lot of this project. Now, he had done this sound before. Now, we didn't review 2.5. Mm-hmm. There's a little bit of this on some of his past work, but this album sonically feels like an extension of what Kaytraminé was.
I agree. I think that he has taken all of the lessons from the great Kaytranada and implemented them in his music, because by allowing himself to be freely influenced by Kaytranada has allowed him to expand into different genres. You want to do like this house rap, this tropical house mixed with rap style is something that he kind of just owns.
Yeah.
There's not really very many people. I can't really think of many people that are around him doing that style as well. So he can kind of just have that. Everybody else is doing everything out. They're doing everything else, but this is the Aminé zone. And I think that he has been an artist who has really capitalized on the season, right? So this album, Kaytraminé, and I would even see maybe in 2.5, summer. It's a lot of summer vibes, summer album.
Limbo as well was August.
Limbo was in August, right? So a lot of summer. He's a big summer artist. And I remember he even did that remix of Charlie XCX's 360. And the video was literally him on vacation in like Santorini or something.
Yeah.
So he's embraced this seasons aspect of music and really leaned into it. And 13 Months of Sunshine, literally, it's in the title. We're embracing this summer vacation aspect again. So I think it's a cool aspect of him. When we first were talking about him, I never really thought he would be turning in this direction.
Yeah.
But I'm really interested, and I'm really intrigued by the idea of him being a summer artist.
I didn't see him going this far into this sound. I think, again, tropical house being kind of the home for him. I didn't see that, but I think I saw early that, vocally he had more chops than he had showed from 1.5. There are a couple songs where he sings a little bit, and I was like, okay, you're comfortable here. Like, again, I'm not hearing crazy vocals. You're not Frank Ocean or anything. I'm not going that far. But I think...
But could he be a little bit of Drake?
I don't know. I'm not going to go as far as Drake. Drake is more of an emotional crooner.
What?
Aminé sings in like a cool way. He's like, I'm not going to show that much emotion in my singing. I'm just going to keep it chill.
Okay, I want everybody to tune into I Think It's You by Aminé in that tropical house. In the shoulder shimmy, little vibes. And tell me that song didn't come straight out of Honestly Nevermind. Right?
This one definitely could have.
This one is just the vibes. The hips are moving, shoulders swaying. It's got that nice I don't want to say it's not Emma Piano, but it's basically I would say tropical house or even Afro house actually. If you've listened to what Afro house sounds like recently, it kind of sounds like that. And he's singing on it. I'm like, oh, this is like, this is a Drake influenced song coming through. And he is being able to, I think he even kind of sounds like Drake when he's singing as well. So there is an element of his influences bleeding through his music. And I think that's something that I remember mentioning way back on Limbo.
Yeah.
Where a different person, one of Drake's nemesis.
Yeah.
Is a core influence to Aminé, and I'll mention that later. And this is one of those songs where I'm like, oh, okay, so the tropical, we're outside having a great time. This is a summer theme again. It was really interesting to me. This is where I was like, oh, there's like a Drakeness to his music now that I didn't think was really a thing before.
I think when he sings, there's that feel to it.
Yeah.
I think when he raps on it, that's where it's actually the best to me.
Yeah.
A song like Vacay, it's like he does such a good job on here of rapping fast, but not overdoing it, where he's over rapping some of these records. Of course, my favorite part of Vacay is the vocal chops. I think those just add a little texture to the song that just make it even more danceable.
Yeah.
But I think that's the thing that I see all over this project is him being able to stay in pocket on all these fast records. They're so fast, they're so danceable, and he doesn't end up over rapping on basically any of them.
Yeah.
And I think that is something you like rarely see a rapper do. It's like on a song this fast, it gets to be okay, double time, triple time.
Mm-hmm.
And he never does that. He stays in his pocket. So Vacate is, a good example of that. And I think it was a great choice as one of the singles, for obvious reasons.
Okay.
But I think the production on here to me is still the actual star of this album.
Yeah, me too. I think a great example of the production being a superstar is on 13 Moss, which is 13 Months of Summer.
Yeah.
Again, there's more tropical dance music, right? But then the beat switch midway through is something I want everybody to pay attention to, because basically there's like this space in between where I think he's talking to somebody in a cab or something.
Yeah, seems like it, yeah.
The beat is like in reverse and it's got like those chimes in it, and you hear
almost like
rapping,
a xylophone.
Right? And I'm like, there it is. There's the influence that I've been telling people for years. Aminé is a fun Pusha T. This is a Pusha T song.
I just agree with that.
Song, that second part is, that song could come from literally any Pusha T album.
I do think the chimes give that energy for sure, but Pusha T loves that sound. But I've never agreed with you on this take. I think that just their actual style of rapping is so different.
I could keep going.
I think it's so different, because I think the difference is Pusha T raps like he's giving commands. Aminé is more of a swag rapper.
Yeah.
So I feel like that big difference is just, not even close.
But
sense.
You're getting, what I would say is like, you're getting caught up in the lyrical, like what he's saying.
Not lyrics. I'm talking more style. That's how they use their voice, the way, the inflection, the way that they rap.
I think it's very similar. I actually think it's extremely similar.
This is your time to shine, okay? Comment on Spotify now. You can comment on YouTube. Do you see the similarities here?
Yeah, I would love to hear that, because also I am a Pusha T disliker, let's say. I'm a person that thinks that Pusha T is extremely one-dimensional as a rapper. And I think that Aminé has taken that attitude, the stress on each bar when he raps, and he has taken that and pulled it in directions that Pusha T, I don't know if he can't, but doesn't want to take in different directions. So you can have a song like 13 Months of Summer where it has like that dance element at the beginning, right? And you can go like, okay, actually I'm just going to flip the beat, right? And have like that xylophone in between. And then I'm going to come back and still rap in this way where everybody thinks it Pusha T. I don't think Pusha T is a one of one the way people think he is. I think that like the and stuff like that, but things that Aminé has is like, hey, he has his own ad-libs that accompany the situation. He even does like a sound in the song. I'm like, this is a Pusha T track. He's doing a Pusha T bit. And I've been a person that I'm standing 10 toes down on this take because I know it's true. And I think it's just the thing. I think the main thing is, people who listen to Pusha T don't listen to Aminé. Those are two different dudes.
I'm someone who listens to both, and I'm telling you it's not.
No, I'm telling you it is. I'm telling you it is right here. I'm going to make a TikTok about it too. I'm going to show people how close it is.
I can't wait for the comments to just eat you up once you do that. Be Easier on Yourself is one of my favorites on here. When I talked about him singing, this is the song I was thinking of. Okay. I think this is the kind of song that people probably don't know him for. But it's the kind of song that he has in his repertoire, in his bag, that it's not, foreign to him. And I think on this project in particular, this is a song that I feel like holds a great place. He has a couple of times in like the pre-chorus where he strains a little bit of his vocals and tries to hit a certain note. But I think, this is like song still has a danceable feel, a lot slower than the rest of the album, but it's still more like a two-step than maybe a high knees type of dance. But the content as well, like he takes it to a whole different place where it's kind of a break from the braggadocio. Yeah. And then he makes it more like, okay, we're just going to hang out for a bit. I'll tell you about myself. I'll be a little more honest, a little more vulnerable. And it feels intentional because up until that point, it really was all gas. Yeah. And there's a couple times before that, Doing the Best I Can is in that vein as well, where again, a break from the bragging, a little more chill. But I think having those moments in the project production-wise where it's like, I'm taking the tone down a bit. You know, it's not as exciting or dynamic, but I'm not slowing it down as much. And so I think that was a good choice where we can take the tone down, but not slow all the way down, where this album can still be listened to all the way through.
Yeah, I think that is one of the big pluses of this album is that there is a malleability to the production. Like I feel like they all the songs belong next to each other, but it's not really to the point where it sounds like one song.
Yes.
Right. So the cohesion is really high. I feel it's really high for an album that doesn't have the songs that just like go into each other.
Yeah.
You know, there's definitely a very obvious production style, but there's enough twists on it where it doesn't get super old. I think another good example of this is like Raspberry Kisses, where it's like bordering on a G-Funk song. Like you can hear like the G-Funk synths in it, but then it has these claps and I'm trying to think of the instrument. I can't remember what instrument it is. But there's another instrument in it where like there's like a hollow playfulness to it as well that takes it away from the G-Funk. But the G-Funk synth in there always kind of roots it in being a hip hop song. So there's even that little production element as well that even that we're kind of in the space where it's more of dance music.
Yeah.
I think he's really mastered the space of like a house tropical rap style. To have these extra elements of Raspberry Kisses where there's like a G-Funk element, just a little bit, not overpowering, but for a person like us, the listener can sense that extra G to the funk that is happening. So I think that's a great example too, where you're seeing these just like strands from different genres coming in, but not distracting. They're just adding a little extra punch. So I think it's cool. I think the production is phenomenal, man.
This reminds me of a song that you might hear from the Free Nationals or maybe the internet, a song that they would make. And I think why this song, Raspberry Kisses, really, really stands out to me is because this is one of those songs where, one, the production on it, you would not think this is a rap song. Like, and this is one song that he raps on. He doesn't rap on every song on here. This is a song where he raps a bit. Then there's some like sing talking. It's a little mix of both of those. And then some singing as well. But this is a beat where what other rapper is going to hear this beat and do anything with it? Yeah. You know, it's like, okay, maybe I got to get a singer on this. Like, this is like just him. He shows all the versatility on this. And then before we get into lyrics.
Oh, go ahead.
I want to ask you about the skits.
Hold on. One thing. I want to mention Changer just because that is probably one of his the most fun produced songs. It has these like video game like coin sounds and it's nearing the space that I love. A little drum and bass. It's getting there. It's getting close to that
drum
garage.
And bass adjacent.
Yeah, it's getting to that UK garage space. And one of my favorite artists, she lives on that space. She lives there. Let's give her a phone call. She will pick it up.
I would love to see them work together. Yeah. I'd love to see that. Aminé and Pink Pantheress.
Yeah, I think it would just be a fun space, but I just like that production, like that. It's literally like a video game coin, like a Super Mario collecting the coins or something like that. It's a very interesting element to the song. So that's what I wanted to say. Go ahead.
The skits. Yeah. A bunch of them are his dad on here. I think they actually added texture to this album where lyrically he's not talking about stuff that deep all the time. There are a few records like Be Easier on Yourself or Doing the Best I Can where he's more into that bag. The rest is kind of like typical Aminé lyrics. But I think somehow on this project, the skits actually ground the theme of the project more than it would otherwise. Like sometimes when you hear the skit, you're like, this is on this song? This doesn't feel like it makes sense. But somehow he makes it work. You know, they're not overpowering. They're not too much. So I actually like the skits on here.
Yeah, me too. Like a good example of them is Doing the Best I Can, where it kind of like sets up the entire theme of the song where he's talking about, this is an intro where he's like, I have to do something for this family I created, you know? I tried my best. I tried my best possible effort. I'm trying to replicate what he was saying. Like, there is nothing I can change. And then, you know, that's basically the basis for the entire rest of the track. I'm doing the best I can, right? So I think it's a good table setter for a lot of tracks. There is one track where, I think I mentioned this earlier, where it was 13 Months of Sunshine. This is in the outro, and this is between part 1 and part 2, where he's like, as an immigrant, I came to this country adapting it every day, the language barrier, the culture barrier, everything. But you have to face it. I've been working my butt off, And then again, part 2, Aminé. This is just off the top of the verses. I was named after my grandfather, so I can't put shame to the name I'm proud of. If they fuck it up, correct him, treat your family with honor. I don't care if it's easy for the barista, I promise. So even, his connection back to his family, and his dad literally just said, I came here as an immigrant, right? So there's this connection, this lineage that is being connected from his dad in the outro to the beginning of the second part of the song.
Yeah, I think that's actually kind of important on this because this is probably the album the most where he talks about his heritage. We'll talk about the cover, but he's still on the cover as well.
Yeah.
Of him being Ethiopian. So I think that, again, some of these songs are not that deep in the lyrical content, at least on the face, but to have that in there works. And then I got to be frank with you, he has moments on basically every album he's had where there's a part where he's saying something. And I think what he's done a good job of over his whole career is saying something that means something without it being preachy or overbearing, and almost to a point where people don't even see him as that kind of artist.
Yes, that's true.
And I think maybe he wants to be seen as that or not. That's up for him to decide. But I think the way that he disguises that in the lyrics is genius in a sense, and I want to give him credit for that. Yeah. He does that on Images in verse 1. Says, I'm keeping people alive with the photos in my house. Gigs aside, I'm talking no iCloud. Fate and love need to remember somehow. When it's in my hands, please come back out. No mad feelings, we go way back. Nostalgia in them till they fade black. Man, I can't front about it. Passing it back, but I can't pass on it. Excuse me. It's almost like an extension of what you just brought up about his dad talking about his name, and even the barista has to get it right. It's there's a clear pride in terms of him and his family. Talking about, I keep people alive with the photos in my house. Even that alone, it's that just as a sentence on its own, it's keep people alive with the photos in my house. That's clearly a pride and being family oriented. And obviously this album is not as, I guess, heartfelt production wise as other albums have been.
Yeah, that's true.
I would say, but I think the theme of family and his home and his, home country and his father, you see all over this. And I think there's kind of a part of this where, and it reminds me of Mustafa, who very different artist than Aminé, but it's almost there's an aging of him you see for sure, in the music, clear aging lyrically, where it's you kind of realize these things that were always around have more meaning. And I think there's a part in here where he says, fading love need to remember somehow. It's the love in real life is fading. The picture's helping me remember. That is crazy onto its own. So for him to have things like that in these records, I think it's pretty important because we always say, words do have power. And I think that these are things that it doesn't need to be preached to someone. It's not like some artists where it's I'm only listening to get into the lyrics. It's I'm listening because it's fun. And while I'm here, say something that means something.
Yeah, I think that he's really developed into being able to mesh those two things together in a way that few artists are able to actually do, to be quite honest.
No, honestly, yeah.
To be an artist that is considered fun. I would consider, I call them the fun Pusha T. To be able to be that person and then also to still have songs or portions where there's messages that are actually super personal. Super personal. The song that I talked about, and 13 Months of Sunshine, and then the song you just talked about, these are deeply personal, bro. You're talking about your grandfather being an immigrant, the importance of your name. These are deeply, deeply personal things. And for them to be kind of just there, but it's almost like a painting where you have to look at it from a particular angle to see a certain image. That's kind of what he's doing with his music. I want to mention Arc de Triomphe. One of my favorite songs by him. I didn't like it when it first came out, by the way. This is I think the main single when it came out, Arc de Triomphe. Wasn't a big fan of it because I was it's missing a little something, and I couldn't figure out what it was. But it's one of those songs that sound better when the entire album comes out and you're hearing it in that body of work. But I wanted to highlight his flow. His flow. He's doing a lot of fun stuff on this where he is here, I want to make sure I get the correct part. He's okay, this is on the chorus. He's look, question. The fuck you be on? burning these bridges, y'all niggas is nothing like my boy Leon. I need a bitch that's bad, like with an arch in her back, like Arc de Triomphe. Then he goes to and then there's the part after original pirate material, listening to the streets, lock down your aerial. That's from Mike Skinner. And then in the first one, this is right after, he's like, Jesus Christ I dress, so yes, I'ma shake 'em. Welcome to the party, baby. Salamu alaikum. I hate these flows they doing the creatives. I'm an MC first and a Portland native. I carumba, I take this bitch, then I beat the bumper. Start with the IG, then the number. Now we at her house cutting up cucumbers. So lots of different flows. I mean, I'm reading it, so it's not fully, flowed like him. But to use Arc de Triomphe, which is in French, and then why can't I pronounce it?
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. I can't pronounce it. But it's and that's Arabic. So he's using multiple languages to rap. And then he's also referencing places like Portland, Jesus Christ. So there's like a compression of a lot of things happening this is the chorus and the first 6 bars of verse 1.
Yeah.
And this is what I'm talking about, where he's able to, he's viewed as a fun rapper, but then he's compressing these references that are quite either serious or just like references to things that people are not going to be pulling at the same time. Like, how many people that are native, like, is it an English speaker is like, I'm going to start rapping in Arabic and French in the same song, So that's kind of rare, unless the person's like from Morocco or something.
Yeah.
So it's really, really rare. And then also I beat the bumper, I started IG, what's the number? Like the fact that he's even bouncing from the different endings, and then he has like the flows that are matching up, and then it has the number, bumper, cucumber thing at the end of it. It's just fun, right? These are fun raps, but again, like bouncing in different directions that most other people wouldn't be able to. So I just thought it was fun to highlight this song, because I was like, at the beginning when I first heard it, I was like, But then I'm hearing it afterwards, I'm like, actually, there's something really interesting happening here.
Yeah, I think that sounds way better now that it's part of the full project. Yeah, as I say, and what's funny, I think it has the most plays out of all the singles, so maybe we're completely wrong about that song. But I think that's something that this album definitely benefits from, is like all these songs sound better, kind of like blending into each other. So I like that one a lot. I got one more set of lyrics. Okay, this one's from Be Easier on Yourself. Verse 1, he says, moving buildings make me question my purpose. The smallest things make me feel like I'm not shit. Every time my hands lean on the glass, I think about my fuck-ups in the past. Those windows get me every time. I try and stop them, but the tears ain't shy. Standards I got for myself, most folks leave on the shelf. Stress myself with the impossible when I know it ain't possible. I gotta ease off the gas just a little. I gotta give myself some time just a little. I gotta go and pay the God just a little. This is a song that is probably one of the most on-topic records that he has, in terms of he's talking about being easier on yourself, giving himself some credit, giving himself his flowers, practicing gratitude. This whole song is a lot of that. And I think we talked about Young Lean a couple weeks ago, and him making records that are more like adult records. Yeah. It's not even just him being famous for a decade. It's him being like, oh, like I'm an adult. Like these are adult feelings. This feels like one that I think is a big adult feeling, but also like a big adult feeling in our era, like, as millennials, because I don't think our parents were being easy on themselves or talking about being easy on themselves. When we talk about, certain records that make you realize the time period that is happening, this is one of those where, if we were, reviewing an artist who is maybe 10 years older than Aminé, are they talking about being easy on themselves? Probably not. Yeah. So I think that's something that I think is pretty cool for him to talk about being easy on himself. This isn't a mental health song. This is not Logic, Call That Number. We're not going there with it. But I think this is kind of mental health adjacent of, be easy on yourself, give yourself that credit. He has this thing in the song where he says, the smallest things make me feel like I'm not shit. And I feel like that's a universal feeling a lot of people have over whatever it is in their life that they either stress over, are anxious about. And I think that that's something I kind of pride him for putting in this song, but putting it at the top of verse 1. Yeah. Like, if you're not going to hear the rest of the lyrics, at the top you heard this guy say, the smallest things make me feel like I'm not shit.
Yeah, I think that he's I think even when we were reviewing Limbo, I remember him rapping about being like 27 or something like that. And he was like, or 26, and he was like taken aback, like, I got to get my life together. So he's definitely been an artist who has been aware of his mortality, I would say, effectively. And also how important it is to maintain like an even keel. And again, we're talking about Aminé here, you know, somebody that is not known for that. And I think that's I don't know if that's the best or the worst thing about his music, is that there are these messages or these little pockets of his truth or observations of the world around him. And these are things that are glossed over. Maybe it's just me and the people I know. They're not referencing these things when they talk about Aminé's music.
No.
So it's like he's got these hidden gems throughout his music, which I really appreciate. In the midst of, you know, rapping about various things of feeling great, feeling alive, you know, great things. He's a summer artist, like I mentioned at the beginning. You know, he's rapping about, you know, I fucked up and messed up. I'm speaking to you like a nigga in a Tesla. Talking to you with my chest out. That's not how I'm supposed to talk to you, but I'm stressed out. A grown man, but I'm talking like I'm 10 now. I was sleeping on your love, but I'm awake now. So he's even got like these fun lines, you know, talking like, you know, grown man talking like I'm 10 now, like like I'm a kid. But again, these are the flows I'm talking about as well that he's able to put together. So one of my favorite albums right now when it comes to lyrics, to be honest with you, because I like the nuggets. I like a fun album with nuggets. That's part of the reason why I liked Brat by Charlie XCX, to be honest, because it had a lot of those nuggets as well. What else do we have here? We talked about the cohesion. Yeah. Cohesion, very high, especially very high for an album that does not flow directly into one another when it comes to the songs. How do you feel about the features? Oh, that's something we forgot to mention. The features. Do you have a favorite feature?
I don't have a favorite feature.
Me neither.
Here. I think they all just work. Like I think, you know, there's also a bunch of producers on here as well. We didn't talk about the actual producers themselves, but he worked with more producers than he usually does. Yeah, there's like
6-7 people on each song. It's crazy.
I think the most interesting thing is maybe the first track, New Flower, with Leon Thomas, because I don't think you would know that's Leon Thomas unless you saw the actual record. Yeah. So I thought that was interesting of using a name like Leon Thomas and not having him use like his traditional voice and kind of modulating it a little bit. But I don't really have a favorite feature.
That song, New Flower, didn't that song feel like they kind of revamped MUTT a little bit?
Oh, I could see that.
It felt like they sped it up a little bit, add new drums on it. I don't know. It felt like MUTT was part of the construction of that song.
Maybe around the same time. Who knows? Yeah. Who knows?
But yeah, I think that it was interesting because also, Leon's voice is like distorted.
Yes.
In this way that his voice is typically not distorted like that. He doesn't really make music like that. So it's cool. I think that's maybe my most interesting one. The other ones were, they exist, but not in the space where I was like, oh, this is a great feature for like for Lido or something like that, you know, like it didn't really exist.
But I think this helps his career because this is now the 4th, 5th album in a row that he's had minimal features. He never does the
he doesn't have a big name feature. Never does really a big name feature.
Yeah,
Kaytraminé is the biggest name.
He's worked with like big artists, you know. I know he had Gunna on his last project, Rico Nasty, you know. So he does get those features. I think that's not the part of it, but I feel like he's never been reliant on them, and I think that's something where a lot of artists, where, you know, if they get whatever feature it is, that's going to be their single. You know what I mean? Like, he's never been that kind of artist. He can get the big features. Like, we talked about this years ago, but his first album, Kehlani, Charlie Wilson, Offset, Nelly, and Ty Dolla $ign.
That's true. Yeah,
you know? And
I guess he doesn't really pimp the big feature.
Yeah, he doesn't hold him out. He doesn't hold him out. So this is another album of him doing that. And I think he's more than established now of like, I don't need none of y'all. You know? He can say the line of Drake featuring Drake. Like, he is one of those artists. Like, it's rare we have those artists in hip hop, and he's basically not even making hip hop at this point, but he's still rapping. Yeah. And so for him to still be able to have all these great records by himself, singing, rapping, talking, crooning, whatever it is, this is great for his career.
Yeah, I think so too. Also, the more times you can put out an album that is good, solid to good to great, that's only a plus. especially for an artist like him, where I think his music is part of his fame. Like, Aminé is not somebody that really strikes me as like, oh my God, that's Aminé. You know what I mean? It's like one of those artists that you kind of had to know. You had to know. Maybe you heard Caroline one time, and then you're kind of out of the loop, versus people who are in the loop. They're like, that's Aminé, man. That's so sick. So I think the fact that he's still putting out good music since Caroline was what, 2016?
2017, yeah.
So since then, there's still a body of work, an effective, very good body of work that is being put out, I think is phenomenal. So I think it's a plus. What do you think about the cover?
Maybe my favorite cover of the year.
Yeah?
Yeah, I love this cover. The only problem I have, and Aminé, a big fan, is the slippers. That's the only issue for me. If I could change the slippers, I would. Other than that, love the cover. I think it's like every cover that he's on where his face is on it, he has that like trademark deadpan look. Like he brings that back, of course. I think having the title of the album on the poster, on the Ethiopia poster, that's a chef's kiss move right there. Like I like that a lot. And then, just having this companion, I would call it, on the couch with him. I love that as well.
Is that a sloth? That looks like a sloth.
Yeah.
I like the cover too. I think I like the covers that have come out this year, or just in general, where it harkens back to where your heritage, right? And we were talking about this with Bad Bunny when he had the two chairs, the two empty chairs, and we're like, we know exactly what that means.
Yep.
You know, we're not from Puerto Rico. We're from, our parents are from Jamaica.
Yeah.
We've seen those chairs before. We know what those chairs mean, right? And this is another one of those where he's in a room where it's all white, painted all white, looks like it's inside of a house. There are definitely, again, that's part of like our heritage too. If you ever been to Jamaica, our houses are just paint pure white,
100%,
right? So there's that too. I think that. Yeah, even having the sloth, the photo in the background that says Ethiopia on it too. Just like I like albums that do that, where they're not only a statement of your music, but a composite of who you are as a person that led to this album coming out. So I'm big on this album cover.
Yeah, I think this is probably my favorite cover from him, other than a 1.5. But I think about the difference between this and 1.5, 7 years apart, but it feels like, first of all, represents the album. Like, what he's wearing on this cover sounds like the songs on this album. What he's wearing on the cover 1.5 sounds like 1.5. So I think he even does a good job of like showing where he is in his life as it represents a project. So, huge plus for me.
Yeah. So I think it's a big deal. This is really good. Or I feel like it's really good. Is it a no skips?
It's a no skips. Yeah, I think this is a no skips. 16-song album being a no skips. I don't know. The more we talk about this guy, he may be going into the Album Mode Hall of Fame. I never thought I would have said that about Aminé. It didn't really felt like it made sense to me. But now that we're here, it's like maybe we're just not viewing him like that, but he is like that, because I think there's artists who we're both more fans of who don't have 3 albums that we've reviewed of this quality.
That's true.
So I think we're almost like neither of us are Aminé super fans. It's like that. So maybe that's part of it. But I think this is a no skips. We said Kaytraminé was a no skips. Limbo was not a no skips, but it was still very good.
Yeah.
So I don't know. You're agreeing this is a no skips?
I think it's a no skips. I think there are songs that I'm not huge fans of. There's only a couple people.
Yeah.
Only a couple. But they're definitely songs that you can still listen to. Like Doing the Best I Can. Not a huge fan.
Yeah.
I get the heartfeltness. I get it. Not a huge fan, but it's very listenable. It's not like it's getting in the way or something that is interrupting the rest of the album. It fits. So yeah, I think it's a no skips. Okay. It's a no skips.
Would you get the vinyl? I think I would, man. I like the cover a lot. And this album is an album you could really play all the way through. And like that middle section, Doing the Best I Can, Temptations, which sounds like a Pharrell joint.
Yeah, it does.
Be Easier on Yourself. That middle, even because that middle section, it like slows down enough where you're like, okay, we'll go to the washroom or we'll go get a drink. The party's still happening, and then I can come back. So this would be a vinyl cop for me.
Yes, I would. Yeah, it's a vinyl cop. But you know what? I don't know what it is internally. It's a reluctant vinyl cop, and I'm trying to figure out why. But I would say
why is it a reluctant vinyl cop for you?
I think. Well, this will go into the score. So I'll say I'll go first. This is the first time I know I'm going first. So my score for 13 Months of Summer by Aminé.
Sunshine.
I don't know why I keep saying summer. My score for 13 Months of Sunshine by Aminé is an 8.0 out of 10.
Okay.
Flat.
Okay.
And I've said that for other reviews before where I'm like 7 flat, 5 flat. This is like an 8 flat, just made it over the line.
Okay.
I think that my trepidation is that there's no song that blew my socks off. Lots of good, very good songs. Lots of very, very good songs. I really, really like Trepidations. Temptations. I'm losing my marbles right now. I really like Temptations. I really like 13 Months of Sunshine, the song. I like that song a lot.
Yeah.
I like the Pusha T element of that song as well. And I like Even Feels So Good. I didn't like it when I first heard it because I felt like it was weird. Like it was weird, didn't fit. But then after, again, hearing the entire album, you hear it again, you're like, okay, it fits. Everything fits.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of good songs. Productions we talked about, it was phenomenal. I think his writing style has evolved to a point where there are the nuggets in between the fun bars that we're rapping about. He's very much a braggadocious rapper, very much a money, clothes, and hoes rapper, but not in a way that Gunna does it. It's more of like an art, like, you know, he's artsy and he's going to rap money, clothes, and hoes in an artsy way, like I mentioned earlier in the review. So I think it's good. I think it's very good. I think it's 8. This is an A-. It's an A-, where I'm like, there's no song that blew the socks off though. That's where when we're getting to the 9s and 10s, where like a song starts to wow me. For example, when we did, what was it? The song with Vince Staples where he was rapping about
When Sparks Fly?
When Sparks Fly, when it was a gun, but also a woman at the same. It's not like, oh my God, can you believe he ever did? But I'm like, there's very few songs that are really like this right now, right? So I think that his tropical house / rap / a little sprinkle of UK garage sneaking in through the back door, I'm enjoying it. So it's an 8 out of 10. I think it's really good. What about you?
For me, it's an 8.5.
Okay.
I agree with you. There is not that like totally amazing dynamic banger that I'm like, yo, listen to this. But I think the album is that. I think as a whole, this album is, you know, that song we're looking for. The album is that, because I think as a whole, a 16-song record to be a no skips, like that's rare. You know, like think about how much you were hyping up Pink Pantheress last week. We rated this higher than Pink Pantheress, and it's twice as long. So I think we got to give him his credit. And then as well, I think making an album that is this tempo for so much of the project, like so listenable all the way through, that doesn't sound homogenous. Yeah. Like that's something we can't take for granted. I think even the casual listener will agree with us of like, no, it's not the same song all over again. And I think to have an album that is mostly this tropical house sound different at so much certain points, I can't think of an album that we've reviewed on this podcast that's had that quality. So 8.5 for me. This is an album that could go up in value as the sun comes out in Toronto. I agree. It could go. I've been listening to Honestly Nevermind a lot recently. I'm listening to a lot more Afrobeat. So this could be. I could start a place with this. Maybe the start of a playlist, a summertime playlist. So maybe album mode we might do this a summertime playlist. Yeah, this would be the start of it. But for me, this is one of the best albums of the year so far. Aminé, album mode Hall of Fame, man. We didn't see it coming. Yeah. He's like, who is he in the like Hall of Fame? I'm trying to think of his corollary for the Hall of Fame. I don't think it's Melo, because I think Melo is such a famous NBA player. He's like John Havlicek or some shit. Like, well, I would say he's more the player who, you know of him, you know that he's good. But when you put his accolades up, you're like, oh, he got all these All NBAs. He got like whoever. He's like Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson's too famous. Yeah, he's too famous. Someone who's known but not as famous. And once you put their accolades up there, you're surprised by how much accolades they have. You know, like someone I think of is like a Chris Bosh. Like 10-time All-Star. People are like, 10-time All-Star, Chris Bosh. So he's someone like that where you know of him, you rate him, he's still good. But once you actually put his stats up there, you're like, I can't believe this guy did all of this. So Chris Bosh, I said John Havlicek, but I think that's a little bit too old for like 90% of the people who are watching this. And I don't know if he still is, but at some point he was the leading scorer in all Celtics history. That doesn't seem low key to me. Yeah. I think you got to think.
It's low key for your average listener right now. They're like,
for people who are born in the 90s and 2000s, yes, it's low key for them. But a couple things in the comments. Let us know, who is the basketball equivalent of Aminé?
Yeah.
You know, he's in the Album Mode Hall of Fame, so a Hall of Famer whose stats surprise you. You know, someone who I think of in this is Chris Paul, even though he's obviously a legend, but Chris Paul sometimes not rated by certain people. Then they realize, oh, he's one of the greatest. So maybe he's one of those people.
Okay.
And then as well, do you agree with us? Should Aminé be in the Album Mode Hall of Fame? He has the stats to prove it, but I think it should be there. And then any other nominees? We got some off the top of the dome: Arlo Parks, Caliucci's.
Ooh.
I think those are the two that come to mind right away.
Yeah, those are the two biggest ones.
Is there anyone else we could think of? I think one album can't be enough to put you in.
Yeah, women dominating the Hall of Fame, by the way.
Oh, not surprised.
Yeah, we're not surprised. We've been saying women kind of make better music than men right now.
Thank you for joining us.
We've been saying that.
Make sure you guys follow us on all the interwebs. Album Mode Pod on Twitter, Album Mode Pod on TikTok, Album Mode Pod on Instagram. Subscribe to us on all your podcast platforms. Leave us a rating and a review, 5 stars, not a single star less. And of course, our favorite place to see us, dress so well, look so beautiful, YouTube, okay? Subscribe to us there, like this video, and leave us a comment. And until next time, know yourself, know your worth.
Later days.